Politics are a dirty business. And that's why I'm happy to be your guide as I expose two Kentucky frauds. We're going to start with Mitch McConnell, who's anti-Trump, and Thomas Massie, who's anti-Trump. And we're going to get into the latest Epstein stuff. I know that, you guys know how much I hate that gossip and how you're being manipulated, but I keep getting messages from all of you going, what about this? What about this evidence? And I go, it's all a fraud. All of it is a hoax. This is an Epstein hoax and I'll prove it. Hey, I'm clean. My hands are clean on this. I lose subscribers and money every time I talk about this, and I still love doing it. Why? I'm here to bring you the truth, to deprogram you from this weird anti-Trump cult. It's a cult. And I just make my case by showing you facts. I'll show you more today and you'll see. And then many of you are convinced. I'm so encouraged. You guys are done that. I go, wow, I thought one thing and then you brought this evidence and now I think you're onto something. Yeah, I'm onto something, guys. I know what I'm talking about. These guys are frauds and scams. Welcome to Doug in Exile. Give us a subscribe and you'll be closer to the truth. And remember, my authority is I'm a barely literate comic book artist. I do news as entertainment. This is my fun time. Okay. So everyone else will go, oh, I have these secret contacts. I do have contacts, but they're not secret. I'll tell you everything as I'm doing, as I'm thinking it, with half my brain tied behind my back. First, we're going to open on this Mitch McConnell article, dogging Trump, passive aggressive. And I give Mitch McConnell credit. He helped Trump get the Supreme Court. This is a UK source magazine, The Guardian, where they do not have free speech over in that country. They're not like America, but that's just their bias, okay? Here's Mitch McConnell. Trump's second presidency is the most dangerous period since the Second World War. Mitch McConnell says, now, you know what that implies when they do the Second World War? They're going, Trump is Hitler. Former Senate leader likens administration's fixation with tariffs to isolationist policies of the U.S. in the 1930s. I'm glad they offered that explanation, although we fully support tariffs. But this is tragic. Look at Mitch McConnell, how he has run out of gas, this corpse, who just despises Trump. The world, during Donald Trump's second presidency, has entered a period of danger with certain similarities to the 1930s, according to Mitch McConnell, the veteran Republican former Senate leader. Remember, we were largely isolationist in World War II. We largely kept out of it. While Hitler came to power, we made Britain do all of the fighting, and we came in at the end, and we came in hard, and we dominated. Mitch McConnell made the comments primarily in reference to tariffs and foreign affairs in a wide-ranging interview with the Lexington Herald leader published on Wednesday as he prepares to enter his final year in office. Good riddance, Mitch McConnell. What the H is wrong with Kentucky? Kentucky endlessly. McConnell never even had a competitor. McConnell won every election in Kentucky. And Thomas Massie is the new Mitch McConnell, calling it the most dangerous period since before World War II. McConnell was openly critical of Trump administration's fixation with trade tariffs, which he likened to the isolationist policies of the U.S. in the 1930s that historians say hastened a global depression that paved the path to conflict. Here's where I believe he's wrong. Trump is conducting war by other means in doing a worldwide tariff readjustment with other countries. He is doing world building and greatly benefiting America. So it's not merely isolationist. But while decrying and remember what Mitch McConnell really means is fund Ukraine. Don't be an isolationist. Go fund the bombs in a proxy war against Russia. Get Russia and go to, these are all proxy wars. But while decrying the lack of U.S. preparedness to confront the authoritarian regimes abroad, the 83-year-old McConnell, a senator since 1985 and leader of Republicans in the chamber for a record 18 years, until he stood down earlier this year, then announced his upcoming retirement. He did not discuss the Trump administration's own moves towards authoritarianism. So at least he didn't go as far as he could have, ladies and gentlemen. He also glanced over his own responsibility for handing Trump so much power. And remember, guys, McConnell helped Trump in a reluctant way. McConnell maneuvered to deny Barack Obama a rightful Supreme Court pick. That's the Guardian's opinion, that it was his rightfully, and rushed to give Trump another in the final weeks of his first term in 2020. Remember that, guys. Mitch McConnell he could have followed the rules and said, look, we're Republicans, we follow the rules. This is Obama's right to pick a Supreme Court pick. He didn't do it. He said, too close to an election, let the people decide. If Trump wins, blah, blah. It made McConnell the architect of the current ultra-conservative 6-3 majority on a panel that critics say has been overly loyal to Trump, not least last year's astonishing ruling to give him immunity for criminal acts. That's, again, the Guardian's opinion. I always thank Mitch McConnell for that. It proves that even rhinos who are against Trump, Mitch McConnell knew better than to hand the Supreme Court to an Obama pick. I always thank Mitch McConnell for that, because that is a lifelong, far bigger thing than the small evil that Mitch McConnell does, even in this article, including Thomas Massie's small evil that he does. It's more important that the Republicans maintain a majority so we can manipulate the House, the Senate, the Supreme Court. That's big picture politics, why I'm against this disunity, even small hits by Mitch McConnell, and especially by Thomas Massie. Go divide us after 2026, okay? Don't make us lose the Senate because Trump's going to get impeached. So that is Mitch McConnell, duplicitous D-bag on all this stuff. I could go down all this other stuff with them. I just, Kentucky, what the hell on these guys. Now we're going to go into Epstein, because Thomas Massie and the internet, the anti-Trumpers, the Marjorie Taylor Greene, the naive Republicans, the dumb MAGAs that think that are fooled into thinking the Democrats care about child victims, and they're being played politically. I'm just saying, guys, don't bite. Do not bite. Trump's not biting. Pam Bondi's not biting. Everyone's in my chat going, "Oh, Pam Bondi, Pam Bondi." Sorry, guys, you're being played. Here's Brian Allen. This guy has 195,000 followers to spread his poison. If you go to his feed on Twitter, it's a massive anti-Trump. He hates RFK Jr. All of his feed this week, anti-RFK Jr. And he's promoting Thomas Massie. Why? Major breaking. This is the new breaking news. And this is not breaking news. I'll prove this guy's a liar too. Major breaking. Billionaire John Paulson, remember that name? John Paulson is a Trump donor, a GOP kingmaker, and host of a $50 million fundraiser, is now confirmed to be in Epstein's Black Book. Boo! Epstein's Black Book that doesn't exist. The same man bankrolling Trump. Remember, Trump is dirtied by Epstein bankroller. Speaker Johnson. Oh, everyone in my audience is going to go Pavlovian bell ring ding, and they start slobbering. Yeah, Speaker Johnson, he's a traitor. Get him.
Now they're doing it for political purposes. Not everybody, but a lot of them. And that's what the president's frustrated about. And we all are. That they're creating a hoax just like they did with the Russian dossier because they think it's going to somehow be mud thrown on him. It's not. He has no culpability in this thing at all. The president has clean hands. He wants all the records out. He has told me that himself.
Should he meet with the victims?
I suspect he probably will. Yeah, he has great compassion for them. The president has a very compassionate heart. He hates the fact that these women suffered those harms. He hates what Epstein is accused of and who he was. And when he recognized that, he realized Epstein wasn't just some sort of, socialite. He was an evil person and alleged to have been involved in evil schemes. And the president distanced himself before he was president from that, because that's not who he is. And I think he's being falsely accused and maligned. And that's a frustration of all of ours. That's what he's talking about when he says the hoax.
And the House GOP was literally an Epstein's Rolodex. You still think this isn't coordinated? Trump is getting his marching orders by billionaire John Paulson. That's the accusation. I'll show you why. Again, I will prove it. These guys are complete frauds, including Thomas Massie here. Watch this. Here's Thomas Massie trying to give you some red meat.
Oh, let me give you the name of one of the billionaires who's running $2 million of ads in my district.
since I started this effort. His name is John Paulson. He's a hedge fund manager and a major donor to the Republican Party, a major donor to the Speaker of the House, a major donor to the president's campaign, and he's in Epstein's Black Book. Now, that's public, but that's indicative of the types of people who may be implicated or just embarrassed by a release of a completely release.
Okay, remember, this is breaking bombshell news, according to this Democrat, this guy, Brian Allen. Major breaking. That is not major breaking. Why? Because billionaire John Paulson's name was, remember, my theory is you will get not one new name on all of the Epstein stuff. This guy, Byron Allen, claims. Now, during the interview, Thomas Massie said his name was already made public. When? Guys, this is old. In 2019, when I was still following all of this Epstein trial stuff, John Paulson, the billionaire, was named in an article by Vanity Fair. This isn't new major breaking. This name is old. They've always talked about the Republican billionaire because they're trying to undermine Republican wins. A Democrat. These are at Vanity Fair, at major New York Democrat operations. They named this. And Thomas Massie has the gall to go on a show and go, I'll give you a name. John Paulson. I almost fell asleep. Really? John Paulson, that's your big stinger. There's no new information is coming out. This is fake news, an attack campaign by Thomas Massie. Wait, here's a follow-up by Brian Allen, in case you didn't know. Look, here's John Paulson, the Allen analysis. Brian Allen, the Allen analysis. He's got his fancy name. This is so stupid. We're going to get into John Paulson at the end. If you know what, maybe I'll do it now. And I'm going to make my case on Paulson. Look here. Here's another one. Look at this. Here's the lovable liberal and his old English sheepdog. These are more anti-Trumpers posting all over Twitter. This, all caps, this guy's in Epstein's Black Book, which I knew since 2019. I have the chat going, what do you think of this Johnson guy tied to the Thomas Massie exposed? Remember, Paul Johnson, this guy, is funding Trump, funded Trump's campaign. He funded Mike Johnson's campaign. A lot of good guys. I'll show you the bad guys he's funded too. And he is running the ads right now against Thomas Massie's campaign, which is good because Thomas Massie would not vote for Trump's big, beautiful bill. Thomas Massie tried to give Trump a loss and undermine the MAGA movement. That's what's really happening here. All this Epstein stuff, Thomas Massie, this is just politics, guys. I hate to say it. This is the way it's always happened. Trump took a shot at Thomas Massie for not voting. Thomas Massie went full attack on Trump. And he goes, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pick up the Epstein files. Though they've been around for 20 years, I'm picking it up now on the Trump administration because I think I can damage Trump, and media and MAGA will go right along with it, going, get us those names. We got to release the pedophiles. We got to get them. That's what's happening. That's what's behind the whole thing, guys. This is billionaire John Paulson. He is a major donor to the Republican Party, which is a lie because he's not just a donor to the Republican Party. I'll show you he's a major donor to the Democrat Party, a major donor to the Mike Johnson, a major donor to Trump campaign. And according to Rep. Thomas Massie, he's also in Epstein's Black Book. Your thoughts? I'll just leave this here and gather your thoughts. Here's a good one from David Frick, who I trust. He's a powerful billionaire proving nothing. You need more than this. Grok, does it mean anything that he's in the Black Book? We're going to use some Grok AI to help clear it up. Here's Grok. Epstein's Black Book is a contact list with hundreds of names, including businesses and social connections being listed as Rep. Massie claims for John Paulson. Suggests some association, but doesn't prove involvement in Epstein's crimes, you dummies. Being in the Black Book doesn't prove involvement in Epstein's crimes. Many deny the close ties. It's often just scrutiny from his network. Let's go to Open Secrets. Open Secrets is a great resource that I use. Open Secrets shows all giving. I've seen who gave to Carrie Lake. I saw who gave to Ruben Gallego. I see who gave to Kamala Harris. This is who gives what to who. So I looked up here. These are the top records from John Paulson. So this is that John Paulson guy that they say is in Epstein's Black Book. And if he's some kind of a monster, Let's look at who he funded. Look, top donation. He donated to Mitch McConnell, Kentucky. Mitch McConnell. There you go. He gave to Mitt Romney. Look, there's Mitt Romney back in 2007. This is one of the major donors to both Republicans and Democrats because he pays for influence 100%. He was a top donor, reluctant, but a top donor to Trump, a top donor to Mike Johnson. Now you're all going to go, but Trump's good, but Mike Johnson's evil. You guys, this is how politics works. George W. Bush, he gave to in 1997. Greg Abbott, is he a bad guy? Johnson's name is in Epstein's black box. Is Greg Abbott compromised? Is he part of an underground peddle ring, guys? Look, here's Ted Kennedy, Democrat, okay? More, Mitch McConnell. Here's Dick Durbin. Look, Dick Durbin. This is the guy, this is the big name that Thomas Massie is giving out to show, Republican Party's compromised. Look, here's Harry Reid, Republican Party of Virginia. Here's, let's see, Democrat senatorial campaign. So he gives to the Democrat senatorial campaign and the Republican Party of Virginia. By the way, major donors do this. Mark Zuckerberg did it. Elon Musk used to do it. All of these companies they fund both. Trump used to do it. Trump said he gave to Hillary Clinton. Trump gave to Democrats and Republicans because if you're rich, you know that you throw your money around to gain influence. All of them did it. So there's not a unique, this one is really bad. He's normal. Look, here's Ron DeSantis. This guy's funding, there's Chuck Grassley, Democrat Senatorial Campaign Committee. There's Paul Ryan. This is a normal suite of people that you'd give to if you wanted influence in the Republican Party, including he now funds Donald Trump, Orrin Hatch, John Boozman, Ed Moore, Ted Kennedy, that coke-headed imbecile. There's more Ron DeSantis, a lot. So that's anti-Trump stuff if he's given to Ron DeSantis. So he went against Trump, trying to fund Ron DeSantis. Here's more Ron DeSantis. Here's more Ron DeSantis. Here's Charles Crist Jr., remember Charlie Crist? Chuck Crist against Ron DeSantis. He gave to both sides of Ron DeSantis and Charlie. There's Andrew Yang, Democrat. So this Johnson guy is a normal funder, and Thomas Massie says, this is breaking. This is huge. Did you know that Johnson gave to Trump and Speaker Mike Johnson? Why didn't Thomas Massie say he also gave to Mitch McConnell in Kentucky? You missed that factoid. Yeah, and now Paul Johnson is going against Massie in Kentucky. He's on the Trump train. But wait, here's the latest Scooby-Doo from Thomas Massie. Oh my, worth the watch, he posts. Now this is the big gotcha, supposedly, from James O'Keefe. And I'm going to play this because this is going all over the internet. And everyone who tells you this is a big deal is lying to you. This is a guy named, I forgot his name, Schmidt. They'll go over it in this thing, okay? This is what, now, first of all, I don't impugn O'Keefe's character at all. James O'Keefe is an undercover. He goes in, he sets up these honeypots where he'll set up a date with a good-looking girl and this guy. They find out who works for the DOJ. They go and have lunch with him. They start hitting around, asking questions, and they have him on camera. We've seen it mostly done against Democrats, but in this case, James O'Keefe, and this guy, by the way, isn't a Republican. I believe he's a Democrat, by the way, but I don't know. But he set up a camera on this guy, and James O'Keefe is doing his job. I don't have a problem with James O'Keefe doing this at all. I do have a problem with saying this is some kind of gotcha against Trump. So what this guy's going to say is his opinion that the Epstein files do exist and that the Trump campaign is going to redact or cover up all the Republican names and expose all the Democrat names. Watch this.
Well, those files do exist.
Yeah, thousands and thousands of pages of files. They'll redact every Republican or conservative person in those files, leave all the liberal Democratic people in those files.
Now, this is this guy's opinion of what's going to happen with the Epstein files when he tells it to a civilian girl that he's interested in going to bed with. He says they'll redact every Republican or conservative person in those Epstein files and leave all the liberal and Democrat people in those files. Now, I'll only tell you, this is what the Democrats have done already when they release their redactions. They'll cover up Adam Schiff and protect him and expose anyone in the Trump campaign on the Russia hoax or whatever. They make sure that there's enough clues there for you to find them, or they leak to the New York Times. So even if this is true, it's not proof of a cover-up, okay? You're going to see them go after Pam Bondi in this segment. Okay, this is the guy's name, Joseph Schnitt. I'm going to go into why this is a giant nothing burger, and this guy is not giving you real, reliable information that this is actually what Trump is going to do. It's an accusation and it's a theory. He's allowed to his opinion. This guy works for the DOJ, and I'm a barely literate comic book artist, and we'll see who's right.
I think they visited that Maxwell person.
Yeah.
And also involved.
Got transferred to a minimum security prison too recently, which is against BOP policy because she's a
convicted sex offender, so it's against their policy to send her to a minimum security prison. But this is one that all of MAGA said, we got to get Maxwell's testimony. So you can't get it when she's sitting there rotting in a maximum security prison. So she got an offer to get moved to a less secure prison, okay? If she testified, and she testified and said Trump was clear. All the information, though, no one cares if it cuts against their narrative. If it cuts against their narrative, they don't want to hear any evidence that goes against that these are black helicopter secret agents. This is an acting deputy chief. We're going to get more testimony of him in a minute, but I want to play more of this.
Or something, keep it Russia.
That was the acting deputy chief of the Office of Enforcement Operations, Joseph Schnitt, telling a stranger about the FBI and DOJ's handling of the Epstein files. Schnitt, who works at a high level inside the Department of Justice, goes on to comment on the inconsistent statements, special treatment of Ghislaine Maxwell, and the blatant backtracking on promises of transparency.
And what do you do for work again?
I work for the Department of Justice.
Okay.
Been there like 23.
He got hired in the Department of Justice 23 years ago. That would be on the Bush 1. Bush hired him. I'm going to argue this guy is part of what's wrong with the entire deep state. He's been working there for 23 years. I don't want to accuse him of anything illegal or anything, but I'm going, this is the guy that watched everything happen at the DOJ, including under Merrick Garland, and he kept his job there. Merrick Garland fired lots of MAGA guys, lots of guys. DOJ has them move on all the time. They didn't clean this guy up. What if he's a Democrat? Why wouldn't a Democrat float up that theory? A Democrat's going to say, the Republicans are just going to cover up all the Republican names and only release the Democrats. I have no reason to doubt that. I don't know how this guy votes. I'm just telling you, which is more likely that this is evidence of a cover-up?
I'm an analyst. I'll be acting deputy chief of our office for a few months starting next week. I work closely with all the federal law enforcement agencies, the U.S. attorney's offices,
prosecutors and stuff. He's got his earring and his sunglasses as he's dating some hot girl he's trying to get into bed. Yeah, you'll tell her anything. Did you tell her how you survived in a government bureaucracy for 23 years? Is that where, whistleblowers got fired? Why weren't you a whistleblower? Why didn't you go to your superiors in the administration and say, you know what? Trump is redacting the names of Republicans and leaving the names of Democrats. If you're a sworn oath to protect the Constitution and to do your job, why didn't you go to a superior? Instead, you sat there and you told a girl, a hottie that you're trying to get to bed, about all your secret job stuff. You didn't go to your boss at the Department of Justice. This guy is part of the rotten problem. And now James O'Keefe and Thomas Massie are trying to use him as the most credible witness ever against Trump.
The thing is, it's interesting because I do deal with so many of the agencies, like the Bureau of Prisons, the Marshal Service, the FBI, U.S. Attorney's offices.
Recently, the FBI and DOJ have come under fire for promising transparency, then refusing to release footage and unredacted documents, going directly against the public's expectations and the promises made by Attorney General Pam Bondi and FBI Director Kash Patel. In a DOJ press release, Attorney General Pam Bondi...
Hold on. James O'Keefe did miss one thing, that this is all being weaponized by Democrats against Trump, okay? Thomas Massie and all of Trump's opponents, including Jessica Tarloff, Charlie Sykes. They're all, where's the Epstein documents? Where's the Epstein documents? So not just the public wants to see it, the Democrats want to weaponize it against Trump. And that's a very good reason why Trump would want to deflate it.
He stated, quote, "This Department of Justice is following through on President Trump's commitment to transparency and lifting the veil on the disgusting actions of Jeffrey Epstein and his co-conspirators," unquote, and also claimed they were shedding light on Epstein's extensive network.
That's a quote from Pam Bondi, and you're supposed to hate Pam Bondi. Some people, I got people in my audience, very well programmed to hate Pam Bondi. Trump said she's the greatest AG ever. Matt Gaetz, who, when she took Matt Gaetz's job, Matt Gaetz said she's the hardest working person, greatest AG ever. Kash Patel said hardest working person, transformative in that job. Pam Bondi. Dan Bongino said it. And everyone else, no one else is closer to Pam Bondi than those people. And you have a bunch of right-wing influencers throwing her under the bus. That's my opinion on that subject. However, that sunglasses over here, Grinder Date, this guy, Mr. Grinder Date, Joseph Schnitt. What the other news will not show you, and I believe I'm the only channel that will, the U.S. Department of Justice actually released a statement. So this is from Joseph Schnitt explaining himself when he got caught in that honeypot on James O'Keefe. James O'Keefe could have shown this. Thomas Massie could have shown this. They're not showing this. The U.S. Department of Justice showed this. Here's what that Schnitt, dial-a-whore, wrote. Dear Acting Director Pollack, so he's giving an explanation to his superior. I met a woman named Skylar on Hinge. That's a dating app. In July of 2025. This is from back in July. Her profile is no longer findable. That was James O'Keefe, one of his spies. We had 2 dates. Oh my. So she must have put out on the 1st, August 4th and August 16th. She claimed to be an au pair in Georgetown. She gave no clues that she was a reporter or recording our dates. Had I a clue, the first date would have ended immediately, and there would not have been a second one. She must have been really pretty. My profile indicated I did, quote, government work, but did not specify for which agency. He offered that up plenty on the meal. I never discussed what I do at the DOJ. The comments I made were my own personal comments on what I've learned in the media, which is run by Democrats, and not from anything I've done or learned via work. So what authority does this Schnitt guy have to say that Trump will redact all of the Republican names and expose the Democrats? He is on par with me, a barely literate comic book artist. We're looking at the media and making our guess. He has no authority. Now, Thomas Massie and James O'Keefe are going to go and underline his authority. This guy works at the Department of Justice, but he's saying based on my authority and my job, I have no credibility on what will be redacted at Epstein. This is not evidence of a cover-up. I hope you guys made it all the way to the end here, because they're lying to you. They're still lying to you. Thomas Massie is a liar. James O'Keefe passed this on, and it was not a complete story. I just gave you it's not even my job. It's James O'Keefe's job. Project Veritas. This is Veritas. Where's the Veritas? Where's the integrity? I'm not getting paid. I don't get paid for this opinion. Didn't learn it from work. I have no knowledge, he says. I have no actual knowledge of the circumstances surrounding Miss Maxwell, other than what is reported in the public news. He has no knowledge. Earring. I was never divulged anything about what I do at work. I recall that she asked if I had any knowledge about Maxwell, and I specifically said, I only know what's been reported in the media. Joseph Smith, Deputy Chief Law Enforcement Officer. Boy, did he change his story real quick when his boss came and said, what the hell are you doing, son? Once again, as I've said before, and my reputation, my guess remains unchallenged. Not one new piece of information, in spite of all these liberals and Trump haters saying, breaking, bombshell, new, Thomas Massie, I got a name for you, Paul Johnston, or whatever his name is, big donor. That was in 2019. Not one new piece of information. I would love to be proven wrong.